What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Exertion Sports. My name's Cody.
And I'm Myles.
And today we are going to be going over our super early, probably incorrect predictions for who we think could go and win the Super Bowl this year.
So we've went through every single team and gave them a grade from 1 to 10 on whether or not we think that they will go to the Super Bowl.
And win. All right, so we're going to do these in alphabetical order. We thought that was the easiest way to do it.
Yep.
He selected a ranking of 1 through 10, and I've selected a ranking of 1 through 10.
Yep.
So 1 will be the worst, and 10 will be the best.
Correct.
All right, let's get started with the Arizona Cardinals. I've given them a 3.
Yes, we both agreed on this one as a 3.
They just haven't looked promising the last few years. I hate it because I like players like Larry Fitzgerald, and I really want them to do well, but
Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get that ring, especially with a rookie quarterback. It's not very often that you see one do well in the playoffs, let alone make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think the odds for them getting to the Super Bowl is very likely.
Up next, we've got the Atlanta Falcons, and we both agree here as well. We're going to run a 6 on this team.
Yeah, so I think it's better than most that they have that chance to get there, but there's still a lot of questions for me whether or not they're going to be able to beat some of the top teams in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, and unfortunately, I just don't think they're going to be able to.
Yeah, and since this is a thing for winning the Super Bowl, even if they were to somehow miraculously get to the Super Bowl, I don't think they could beat the AFC teams that we have listed. So up next, we've got the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team that looks hot right now, but I really think we're going to see if they're boys or men after the Week 3 matchup between Kansas City and the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to go ahead and give them a 7, personally.
I give them a 6 because I don't think that they're going to be good enough. Unfortunately, they struggled against Arizona, and I think that if you're struggling there, how are you going to attest to like some of the top teams in the AFC? I don't see them getting even out of the AFC, but I think that they could potentially do something if they got that first round week bye.
Up next, we've got the Buffalo Bills, and I will go ahead and say that I've been pretty impressed with this team so far. I do think it's a team that could actually be a wild card team if they play their cards right, but I'm not sold on them at all. So we're going to go ahead and give them a 5.
Yeah, and I give them a 5 as well because it's like I'm not sure how well they'll do. I know they're 2-0. I think that's kind of way too. Like we said, it's early to predict who's going to the Super Bowl, but I don't really see the Bills doing it. But at the same time, like they could surprise you. You never know.
They are the best team in New York, as
That's
you said.
for sure. Yeah, I have said that. So
up next, we've got the Carolina Panthers.
As much as I would like to give them a 10, I have to give them a 5 because I think that potential is there. I mean, this is a team that came out of nowhere and went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl. But I gave him a 5 because I'm not sure about the health of Cam. Not sure if he really wants to play much anymore, which I think he does. But I think he's just frustrated more with his injuries and everything. So I'm going to give him a 5 here. I think that they can make it, but I don't think it's likely.
I'm also giving him a 5. I say it's not impossible, but right now it's not looking great. I would also love to see Carolina go to the Super Bowl and win it. That is the home team for both of us. So I would definitely root for them, but I think that we're going to have to focus on Cam's health this season. Up next, we've got the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, so defense wins championships, and you don't need anything but that in the playoffs. I mean, you need to score a little bit, but that's where you win it. In those cold times where people aren't throwing as much, Chicago comes to town. That's why I give them a 6. I think they're more than likely. I think they can make the playoffs. I think that they have the potential to actually make some waves in the playoffs and win that Super Bowl, but I don't think it's very likely. I think that that's a potential thing that they could do. Maybe there's not a double doink this year. But,
I gave them a 4, actually, personally. I do love that defense, and it is a great defense, and I agree that defense does win championships. However, in my lifetime, they've been pretty big choke artists. I've got to the point where I don't have a lot of faith in them and their offense.
Yeah.
And Trubisky, I mean, I don't know how I feel about confidence there. So
yeah,
we'll see, but I give them a 4. Up next, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go ahead and go out and say I give them a 3. They have some good players on their team, but the performance that we've seen so far just leads me to believe that they're really not organized.
So I'm going to give them a little bit better chance with a 4. I think that they've showed some great things, especially against like Seattle. But unfortunately, they've just not performed well enough for me. So I had to give them a 4 there. I think that they have that potential. I don't think it's likely. But, I mean, they could surprise. I think anyone with a 5 or better could win the Super Bowl. That's kind of what I said. Of course, if it's higher, more likely. But yeah, I don't think they can. But you never know. You never know. I've seen crazier things.
Up next, we've got the Cleveland Browns. I give them a 1. I do not think that they are going to go to the Super Bowl. I have very low expectations for them, period, as a team. They're going to ride a wave, and then they're going to crash, and then they're going to not be riding that wave anymore. And when your wave starts with the New York Jets, that doesn't say much.
Yeah. I give them a 4. I think they're okay. I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl. I see them the same as the Bengals. I see some things that there's potential there, but I just don't see them winning the Super Bowl. They may make the playoffs, but much like the Bengals, if they make the playoffs, I think they're out early.
Up next is the Dallas Cowboys. We have some different answers here. I went ahead with an 8 on the Dallas Cowboys, and the reason on that is not just because they're the team I pull for, but that offense is looking great right now. We do have some injuries that I'm worried about. Hoping that we can get those worked out, that those players can come back and be healthy. But Dallas, for the first time in a long time, is rated pretty even on the pass game and the running game. Pretty even on how much they utilize it and the percentage that they're successful with it. And the last time that we saw that was actually the early 90s, whenever Dallas was doing well. Dallas is doing a lot better this year. Dak Prescott's looking to be more promising of the franchise quarterback as far as the accuracy that he's showing. With that being said, this is still a group of young guys. They still have a lot to learn. So I'm sitting at 8 for them.
So I see what you're coming from. I disagree. It's a 6 for me. The reason why is they're not playing anyone that's really worth anything yet. I mean, when you start playing the teams that give you challenges, that's when we'll see more about them. I don't think that any of their opponents yet have been a team like the Giants, okay, Washington, and now Miami. So I don't see Miami doing much to stop the Cowboys. So it's going to be another week of we them boys, we win the Super Bowl. And I'd
like to say I am not that person. I never do that.
It's just that, like, I don't see it. I want to see them play somebody before I give them a higher grade, but I'll give them a 6. I think they will make the playoffs. I think it's pretty easy that they'll make the playoffs, but I don't see them beating some of the top NFC teams, let alone a team from the AFC, top team out of the AFC.
Up next, we've got the Denver Broncos. Denver has some tools, and if they could use their defense correctly, I think that they would be a lot higher on my list, but I'm going to give them a 3.
Yeah, I want to give them a 4. I think the promise of mine is that defense. I think that the defense has that potential there. The offense has not looked horrible. They've looked decent, but I think that Denver has that chance there. And the team, it's been a while since they've been to the playoffs. I don't think that they'll be able to get back. But I think that they are a potential sleeper for the playoffs, but I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. That's why I got to give them a 4.
All right, up next we've got the Detroit Lions, where apparently miracles do come true, as we saw with the Chargers. But even though they had their miracle, I think that's where it stays. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and give them a solid 5, just because you never know what could happen. But
yeah, I agree with that. I think the 5 is a good place to put the Lions. Because I don't know. I mean, there's this small part of me that wants to be like, oh, yep, they're going to do it. But the other part of me is just like, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They could make the playoffs, maybe make some waves and get into the Super Bowl. It would be definitely a surprise. But I think that the Detroit Lion curse is just a little too strong.
Yeah, I think a lot of crazy things would have to happen for this to happen.
For sure. But there's been crazy. All the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got the Green Bay Packers. They're looking pretty good this year. I'm going to go ahead and give them a 7 because I never want to completely count out Aaron Rodgers. And their defense is looking pretty good this year. I think that once we start getting into Thanksgiving era and moving forward, that he is really going to be playing a lot better than he has been. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a solid 7. I think they're one of the better NFC teams.
I agree with that. I give them a 7. I think this is of the ones we've been over so far, this is probably the one I see the most winning it. Main reason is Aaron Rodgers, and that defense looks really good. Well, we're going to have to see in regards to the health of the team and stuff like that. I know it's very early. We're still in September. But of the team so far, Green Bay looks like they could potentially make a run in the playoffs, at least to get to the divisional round. if not the conference championship. So I could see them win the Super Bowl this year.
Up next, we've got the Houston Texans, and this is a team that I want to do well in the AFC. I need them for my fantasy team to do well in the AFC, but they've got good players, but they haven't made enough promise to me to think that they'll go all that way. Still, I think it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have one of the greatest wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Oh, yeah.
They have a very talented quarterback. The team is not a bad team. They've just got to make sure they play right. So I'm going to say a 6 for the Houston Texans.
And I agree. I give them a 6 as well. I think that they have that potential. I think it's better than some. It's just, are they going to get it together and figure it out?
Up next, we've got the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a team I think I would have originally ranked a lot higher. But if you had asked me this a few weeks ago, I would have ranked them lower as well. They've showed some promise. I'm going to go ahead and give them a 5. They're playing really well with their starting quarterback now that Andrew Luck is retired. But I think that with that big shock happening this year and with them kind of rebuilding now around their new quarterback, it's not as likely of a chance to happen right now.
Yeah, I think I give them a 6 here. I think that they have that potential. They've actually been really close in every game that they've played so far. So if they start going their way, I think that that's a big chance that they have that ability to do that. So I give them that 6. I think that they could be a sleeper pick to actually make a deep run in the playoffs. And who knows, potentially win the Super Bowl without Andrew Luck.
Up next, we've got Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sitting at a 5 on them right now. I'm really not sure how I feel about this team yet. I will say their starting quarterback is quite the character now that Nick Foles is down with that injury, unfortunately. If Jacksonville were to go to the Super Bowl and win, I'd honestly want to see it with Nick Foles leading the team because I just think he's a great guy. And with him going down, I just don't know if they can do it or not.
No need to worry. Minshew is going to lead them to the Super Bowl. He's going to win MVP and Super Bowl MVP. And Jacksonville's I give him a 5.
That's why I'll give him a 5.
Yeah, I give him a 5. I think that who knows? Minshew might do it. He might do everything that I just said, but I just
jockstrap and all.
Yeah, jockstrap and all. You know, he might be dancing nothing but a jockstrap getting that Lombardi trophy.
I'll tell you what, if he wins the Lombardi trophy, I can see him just getting on a motorcycle and nothing but his jockstrap and an American flag bandana and riding off into the sunset.
Yeah, retires. I could see he would be that guy to retire after 1 year. That would be the greatest story ever. That would be like the first one, like retires at the age of 26 after winning the Super Bowl. And he's just, what a character. Goes into broadcasting, that'd be perfect. But yeah, I think that, Jacksonville with a 5, that's the most interesting story, I think. Except for, like, Jalen Ramsey asked for a trade. So he demanded a trade. Because, I don't know if you've seen this, he got in a fight with his head coach.
Yep.
Argument, so.
Up next, a team with a lot of potential.
Correct.
Kansas City Chiefs. We both agree here. Solid 9.
For sure.
There's a very high chance that this team can win the Super Bowl this year. Patrick Mahomes has showed no signs of slowing down as far as I'm concerned. They have had a little bit of injury on the team, but they're overall playing well, and there's maybe 1 or 2 teams I could see knocking them out of this.
The only teams... So, I would be willing to say that whoever wins the Super Bowl is whoever comes out of the AFC. I think, specifically narrowing it down, I think it's either going to be Kansas City or New England. I think that the winner of that, I don't see anyone beating that, just to be honest. But Kansas City is a phenomenal team. Patrick Mahomes looks better this year than he did last year. That's crazy to say. I mean, he might win MVP again.
He may be our top quarterback after Tom Brady.
Yeah, and I mean, if he ends up winning all these Super Bowls, he can threaten Tom Brady's legacy as the greatest of all time.
We'll see.
I mean, it's very early, but, man, he's playing phenomenal.
We'll see.
We'll see, though. Here's the perfect storyline for that. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in his 2nd year.
Up next, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm pretty confident that they're going to go to the playoffs. I give them a 7. They have a pretty good defense, a good coaching staff, good quarterback, and I'm always partial to Phillip Rivers. So
here's the situation, right? The seeding messes up somehow. Kansas City and New England have to play in the divisional round, and the Chargers are on the bottom side of that bracket, and they play the winner of that in the championship. And the Chargers win that game because those teams put it all out on the field to beat each other, and then they got to go face the Chargers, who had an easy route. And the Chargers win that and then go to the Super Bowl and win. Chargers are a dark horse. A lot of people are still giving up on the Chargers, especially with the loss to Detroit and stuff like that. I think that was a fluke. I think you just write that out. But I think the Chargers, I give them an 8 because I think that they're that sleeper pick that could win the Super Bowl, and it would just be, I mean, if they win the Super Bowl, then the year after that is going to be rebuilding for years because everybody's going to retire because there's so many old people on that team. Thomas Davis is on that team. Philip Rivers is on that team. They're going to go ahead and retire. But, yeah, I'm done. I got my Super Bowl. I'm done. I think that's about where we're at with this. But that Chargers team, man, they're a sleeper pick to go ahead and get that. Like, I could see that happening.
Up next, we've got arguably one of the best teams in the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
I think if any team's looking like they're going to go to the Super Bowl right now in the NFC, it's the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
I gave them a 10 because of them being in the NFC and not the AFC.
Yeah, that's honest.
I think that this team is just a great organization, especially whenever they're at home. But on the road, they've shown that they can play well too. They've got a great coaching staff. You know, they've got plenty of growth for a lot of their young players. They've got an excellent quarterback. I mean, I think we can see them show up again. I really think the Super Bowl could end up being a repeat, honestly.
I agree with that as well. I think if it's a repeat of last year, I think the Patriots win again. I give them a 9 on this one. I didn't give them a 10. I think in order for the Rams to win the Super Bowl, they have to face the Chiefs. Because the last year, when the Rams and Chiefs played, it was one of the craziest games I've ever seen. It was like 50-something to 40-something. And it was constantly scoring.
Score.
It was a beautiful game. It wasn't a beautiful game, but it was a crazy game. I think that's how the Rams would win that. I'd love to see it. I honestly think that if Brady were to retire in the next few years, I could see Super Bowls being Goff and Mahomes many times. But I don't see them winning. I do see them winning it, but I don't see them beating Patriots. But I do give them 9 because I think it's very likely that they could get there to the Super Bowl and win it.
Up next, we've got the Miami Dolphins.
And the scale is 1 to 10, so what do you got on that one?
0.
I agree with that. I'm going to give it a 0.
Absolutely. There's no way this team goes to the Super Bowls and wins. We've tried to break it down for every team here. There's just not a feasible way we can see this team doing this because they're like not as good as college teams.
I'm willing to say this, if the Miami Dolphins win the Super Bowl this year, I will give $10 to everyone who follows me on Twitter. I'm making that a statement.
If the Miami Dolphins win the Super Bowl this year, I'm never watching the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got the Minnesota Vikings. I want to rank this team higher. I really do, but the quarterback situation doesn't give me a lot of hope for this team. You can tell by the numbers that they don't trust Kirk Cousins either. And you say that there are certain qualifications a team has to have to win the Super Bowl, and I don't think this team meets those qualifications, so I give them a 4.
I agree. 4 is a good number for them. I don't think they're built for that quite yet. I don't have enough faith in Kirk Cousins to win a playoff game. On the road more than anything. So first of all, I don't think they're going to have that first round bye with home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So I definitely don't see them doing that. And I just don't see that happening. So I can't give them anything higher than a 4. I just don't think they do it. An 11.
Yes, and since you heard him say that just now, the next team is the New England Patriots. There's nothing to stop this team, in my opinion. I give them an 11 out of 10 because they look just as good as they did when they went 16-0.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I put a 10, but yeah, they're more than likely going to win. I mean, you've got Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and now you've given him Antonio Brown. And he's going to work in that system. This is the thing, okay? You have Antonio Brown, right? And he plays for any organization, and he will run that. For instance, when you looked at Oakland, they were catering to him and stuff like that. You're in the Patriots, it's the Patriot way or the highway. Belichick doesn't give 2 craps about who you are or what you've done. It's like, are you with us? And this is my team. You don't like it? Goodbye. And they could still go on and win the Super Bowl.
I say they're 11 without him.
I thought that they were favorites to win the Super Bowl this year without him.
Yeah.
Now they have him, and their defense has given up a total, in the past 3 games, which is the Super Bowl, Week 1, and Week 2, it's 6 points. And in that time, it's like 110 points they've scored to 6 points. That defense is solid. And they're only improving. And it's September. Anytime we've seen issues out of them, it's September. It's early in the season. And they're being 43-0 against the Dolphins, who they've only, in that building, they've lost 5 out of 6 games. In the past 6 games, they've lost 5 in Miami. And they've been 43-0. Regardless of how good Miami is, that's one of those games that you're like, oh, okay, the Patriots might lose this. They're not losing a game this year, okay? This is the team that'll win the Super Bowl. Like,
it's happening.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen.
I hate the Patriots. I do. And you can say what you want to about that. I have never liked them. I have sworn against them. You can ask anyone who knows me. I would rather Washington win the Super Bowl than the Patriots.
And that's a lot from a Cowboys fan.
It is. I rooted for Philadelphia. I rooted for the Giants. All the games they lost, I rooted for the teams that beat them, and they're all my division rivals. But with that being said, Belichick and Tom Brady are the greatest combination that's ever been in the NFL.
Yeah.
And show me a team that's going to beat them. And for the team fans out there of Baltimore that are high on Baltimore right now that I've seen online, you guys are doing great.
You're better than you have a better chance than Cleveland.
But you have a better chance than a lot of teams, but you are not better than the Patriots.
No.
So Hardy Har, Boston Tea Party, get ready for a repeat. The Patriots will win in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
New Orleans Saints. They're not good.
No. They didn't look too good with Drew Brees, and now without Drew Brees, man.
I want you to look at their past 8 games. Okay? Their past 8 games. They are not even ranked as a mid-level team in passing yards and rushing yards and scoring and anything. I don't know what happened to that Saints team last year because they started out on a roll, and it was enough of a roll to get them to the playoffs and play. But they're dysfunctional now. And now that Drew Brees is hurt, they're going to have to rely on backups. I mean, he'll probably be back by then, but at what cost? I'm giving them a 3.
I give them a 5 because I think there's that possibility that they do okay while Drew Brees is out, and then he comes back, and then, that story, like, oh, he does great, and then he goes on to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it's likely. That's why I give them 5. I think that's a possible thing. But, man, it's just, there's nothing really that I've seen that's really convinced me that they'll do very well. I mean, Michael Thomas hasn't been getting the ball as much as they would like. Alvin Kamara has not been phenomenal like we've seen in years past. But, like, it's a 5 for me. I mean, there's that possibility, but I don't see it as likely.
Even if the Saints go all the way to the Super Bowl, there's no way that they could beat New England. There's no way they could beat Kansas City. I just don't believe it. Up next, we've got the New York Giants. This team, let me tell you, they've, in my lifetime, been really great, and they've been really bad. And those are the only 2 things I've seen out of this team.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not looking great. I'm going to have to give them a 3. They don't even know what they want to do at quarterback right now. And really, the only thing that they can tout out is Saquon.
Yep. So I'm going to give them a 3 as well. And the reason I give them a 3 is Daniel Jones. They would be getting a 10 from me if Eli Manning was to start. And the reason why is because if you want Brady to lose after a perfect season, you have to go with Eli Manning. That was the old...
That's the kryptonite.
That's the kryptonite. But unfortunately, they're like, oh, we don't need Eli. So Eli's been benched. You can go ahead and call it a year. Go ahead and give the trophy to the Patriots. Unfortunately, this is the end of the year. So, a 3. It's not very likely that they're going to do it. Saquon can carry the team, but only so far. So, unfortunately, that's it. Goodbye.
Up next, you've got the New York Jets. Unfortunate with this team, the way that the year has gone so far. Unfortunate their quarterback got, sick and all the injuries that they've had. I don't really have anything against the Jets personally, but things have just not looked good for that organization in a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and have to say this is a 1. It would be a fluke.
I agree it's a low. I give them a 2 just because there's maybe Sam Darnold comes back and just plays great off the mono. But, man, they're not. I don't know, man. Le'Veon Bell can only carry you so far. Sam Darnold's okay, but their receivers couldn't catch a ball. Like, even their backup quarterbacks were putting the ball in their hands, but they wouldn't catch. And it's just like, man, that's got to be so frustrating because they have the quarterback injured, and then their wide receivers aren't playing. Like, they're not catching the ball either, man. That's just awful to see.
Up next, we've got the Oakland Raiders. Oakland is... I go up and down with Oakland every single week, I think. I have a different opinion of Oakland. They look more promising this year than they did last year to me.
Yeah.
And if it were to happen, it would be crazy, but not as crazy as some of the other teams. So I'm going to give them a 5.
I'm going to give them a 4. I think Oakland's... I don't think that they really have that good chance. I was wanting to see if maybe they could shape up against Kansas City, but they didn't. And it was in Oakland. And, I mean, Kansas City just looked so good. And it was just... There's nothing that compared, man. Kansas City is too good for Oakland. Oakland just... Man, 4. That's about as best as I could do for them.
Up next, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. This is another team that I'm not completely sure about yet. But statistically speaking, and the players that they've got on that roster, they should have a pretty good chance. I'm going to give them a 7. And the reason being is it's not that I don't think they can't do it. I just think they do better after the regular season with Nick Foles. Now that he's gone, I don't think that they're going to have that possibility. I don't think they're the same team that beat New England in the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And if they were to go to the Super Bowl now, I definitely don't see that happening again.
Yeah, I give them a 7 as well because I think they are more likely than a lot of the teams because they just overall their defense has great talent. Their offense is pretty solid as well. A lot of that does rely on Carson Wentz being healthy, and that's what I'm assuming here that he does stay healthy. I think that puts them in a good chance. Even though I did have a rough time against Atlanta, I think that was kind of just a whatever game you were on the road. So it is what it is. It's a tough opponent, but I think Philadelphia has a better chance than most. And hey, if they get another Lombardi, I mean the fans are going to be crazy. But I'm going to give them a 7. I think they're less likely than some, but who knows?
7 out of 10 chance that Philadelphia gets burned to the ground this year.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that I would have ranked up there in the AFC Conference, but they've shown little to no promise to me this year. And now that Big Ben's down 3, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen with this team.
Yeah, it's a 3. Rudolph, I don't feel like he's going to be enough to carry this team. I think it's a rebuilding. They're going to be trying to hope to get a solid... Actually, no. I was going to say a good first-round pick, but actually they traded away their first-round pick. So, I don't know what they're going to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Pittsburgh's going to be too good. So, yeah, 3. That's about as best as we can do for them.
Up next, we got the San Francisco 49ers. And they looked good last week. I mean, to be fair, you saw who they were playing. But they put up a lot of points, and in the NFL, that's hard to do. Yeah, you get up into the 40s and the 50s. That's a good game you played. They have some good talent on that team. And if they can organize themselves correctly, I could see them going in the NFC spot for the Super Bowl. With that being said, Jimmy Garoppolo versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady wins.
Yeah, I give them a 6 because I feel they have that potential. And it seems as if they're better than most. It would be crazy to see Brady versus his backup play against each other. The funny thing about that is if it's the 49ers, like... It would be kind of like a Joe Montana, Steve Young sort of thing. That would be a crazy Super Bowl, just to see how that works out. But yeah, I don't see that one. But who knows? They could surprise everybody if they get on a roll here. Mm-hmm. San Francisco is built pretty well for a long run, but it's all based off the health of Jimmy. So if he does stay healthy, wouldn't be surprised to see them fight and maybe get that Lombardi.
Yeah, so 6 around. Up next, we've got the Seattle Seahawks, and this team is a team that can surprise you any year that they have Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And I have been very surprised by this team this year so far. I did not have them ranked as high mentally as they've been performing. And so I'm going to give them a 7. I said they're a good runner to go to the NFC spot for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I give them a 7 as well. Even though they've had close games, even though they've struggled to get everything together, they've won. And if you can have that ability time and time again, we've seen that with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks for a long time, regardless of the personnel, as long as you just give yourself that chance and you pull off the victory time and time again, it's hard to pick against you. I give them a 7 as well. I think they could win the Super Bowl very well. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
It's just make sure that you're not passing it on
the 1 yard line.
Yes.
Last play of the game.
Exactly.
Up next, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another team I don't feel like it's that great. I mean, they're not the worst team in the NFL.
No.
But I can only go with a 3 on this team. I don't see a lot of promise out of them. If the stars align just right, maybe, but not. I don't think this is their year.
I agree with the 3. I don't think that they're that good. I know they beat the Panthers and then lost the 49ers, but I just don't see them being really that good of a team this year. Jameis, I feel like he's not really a good quarterback. He's Bruce Arians' first year. I don't know how well it's going to work out for him, but winning a Super Bowl is a large stretch for Tampa Bay right now. I think there's just too many teams that have talent to actually get to the Super Bowl for them. So, a 3.
Up next, we've got the Tennessee Titans, and this is a team that year after year continues to surprise me in certain games. They definitely have talent on that team. It's never, in my opinion, that bad of an organization. So while I don't think it's likely, it's more likely than a lot of the other teams we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and give them a 6. I think they're a solid pick to try to get to the playoffs. We'll see what happens with this team.
Yeah, I agree with that as 6. When you get into that game in regards to how are they going to play in January and February, in the colder months, they have Derrick Henry. So they have a lot to rely on in regards to their running back. So I think that's a great thing for them. So I'm going to give them that a 6 as well. I could even say a 6.5 or a 7 because they're just such a good team in the run, and they don't necessarily need their Mariota to be as good as they are, and as long as their defense plays well, I could see them running deep. They could be a sleeper. I think it's going to be tough for them to beat a Kansas City or a New England on the road, but who knows? You never know. Tennessee might pull it off.
Last and least. Just
Definitely.
kidding.
Well,
just kidding. Last team we've got here is the Washington Redskins, and we're pretty in agreement on this team. Their defense isn't bad. They have a pretty good quarterback, and they're starting to show a little bit of promise with one of their receivers as far as that connection with Case Keenum and him. And they didn't play horrible against the Dallas Cowboys, but they didn't play great either.
no.
I think the big problem that's been plaguing this organization is they don't know how to spend their money, and they don't know how to trade appropriately.
They overpay a lot.
Yeah.
That's a big issue with them. But, yeah, I'm going to give them a 4 here. I think that they're okay. I don't think that they're set for a title run. I think that they can potentially make the playoff, but I don't see them beating anybody in the playoffs. Even if they somehow make it, I don't see them beating anybody.
So we both agree on a 4 for that team. That's going to be, as of the week 2 being finished, going into week 3, that is our super early, probably wrong Super Bowl predictions for who's going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, New England Patriots are going to win again, and Miami is going back to college.
So Super Bowl prediction, who do you have?
For me?
Yeah.
I have New England beating the Rams.
New England beating the Rams. I'm going to go with New England beating the Seahawks.
All right.
All right. So we'll look back at this one day and see how we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever we look back on it and somehow the Miami Dolphins have won the Super Bowl, that'll be just my luck.
I'll go ahead and pay out the $10 to everybody.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching the video. We really do appreciate you tuning in here and listening to us talk. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments below what Super Bowl matchups you think could happen this year. And don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this and hit that notification bell so you know as soon as videos come out. Have a great day.
See ya.